Yes, we went horse racing with horse racing abroad to Morocco, and we were at the races. I can't remember now, to be honest with you, the name of the race course, but it was just outside Rabat. And we'd sat there. We'd been served a meal. I won't comment too much on the quality of the meal that we were served. It was coming up to the last race of the day, and we were told that the King's horse was running in the last race of the day. And a lot of the people on the table with us thought, okay, King's horse must be a good thing. A bit like a lot of people who believe every horse the Queen runs over here is going to win. They don't always, but quite a lot of them do. So all of our table rushed off to back this horse owned by the King. I resisted the temptation, basically on figuring it would be odds on anyway, and probably no point. Anyway, the race went off. The King's horse duly won. The people on the table got up to go and collect their winnings. They all came back looking very crestfallen, to be told to tell us how much. How much did you win? What price was it? Well, they said because the King's horse won, all bets were voided apparently. And so they gave us our money back. Right, and you accepted that, did you? Well, we didn't have much choice, they just gave us our money back. And what about those that backed the losers? Did they get their money back as well then, if all bets on the winner were voided? Oh no, didn't think of that. You better go back and ask, and if you backed a loser, at least get your money back. You've obviously been stitched up somehow on the winner, so they went back, they came back up. The guy in that tote window doesn't seem to be there anymore. He's legged it. And he clearly legged it with everything he'd taken on the last race before the shutters. Once the shutters gone down, he was out the back. I know all this nonsense about voiding the race because the King's horse had won. He made a nice few quid out of horse racing aboard patrons, let alone anybody else that was there on the day. So that was a pretty memorable occasion. That was Africa. I recently went racing in Oslo to see the Norwegian Derby. They only have one racecourse in Norway, Overvoll, which I probably pronounce worse than William Buick would have done. But it was a lovely day, a good crowd, 7,000 people went. We were with HRA this time. Oslo's a lovely city. They organised when we got to the racecourse that we'd get a chat from a jockey who was riding that afternoon. He was a Spanish lad, English very good. He told us he was riding a 7-1 shot in the 4th or 5th race, and he thought it'd go pretty well. Went better than very well. It won, and he was right. It did return 7-1, so that was profitable. But he'd also told us that the favourite for the Derby had just come out, and that meant that the new favourite was a horse being ridden by a female jockey there, and no female jockey had ever won the Norwegian Derby before. And I thought, oh, okay. Well, if the crowd here is anything like the crowd at a lot of race courses, because it's being ridden by a female jockey, it's probably going to start at a bigger price than it should do, because that female jockey ain't Hayley Turner. So I thought, well, I'll have a few quid on that. It went off something like, I don't know, 9-4. I think I managed to get it. Absolutely sloshed up. So that was brilliant. So that was a very profitable afternoon's racing in Norway. I only had one other bet, and that got beat. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad. And we've been in the States, done Breeders' Cup, done a Melbourne Cup. The Melbourne Cup is probably the one race meeting, if you only have one race meeting you ever want to go to, or you think you are something, go to the Melbourne Cup, because everything you've heard about it is true with knobs on. It's just a fantastic day. Breeders' Cup is great. We've had one of the worst experiences there, where we saw George Washington break a leg, and the Breeders' Cup at Monmouth Park, I think it was that year. We've done the Dubai World Cup, not at Maidan, it must be said, at Nad Al Sheba. I haven't done the other one yet. So that was an Asian race course. Been racing in New Zealand, been racing in Spain, Germany, France. I haven't done Austria, and they race sporadically there. Been raced in East and West Germany, so I can clock that one in. But I haven't, unlike record shops, so I'd like to visit every record shop in this country. I have no desire whatsoever to visit every racecourse in this country. If it happens, it happens, but I won't make it happen. Last week, 2 weeks ago probably now, I was combining record shopping in Salisbury with a trip to Salisbury races, and that's a lovely course. I can only recommend Salisbury. Hadn't been there before. it is the case, I suppose, that your views are sometimes coloured by whether you backed a winner or not there. Unfortunately, I bumped into a mate of mine who runs a syndicate of owners who told me how well his horse was going to run that afternoon. If finishing 7th is running well, then fine, it ran very well indeed. But if it's not, then I thought, how am I going to get that money back? And in the last race, I noticed that Paul Nicholls' daughter was riding a horse in a flat race, the last race of the day, and I thought, well, he's not going to train by Paul, and I thought he's not going to put her on a no-hoper, is he? And I thought, okay, well, is he here? If he's here, that's got to be a double tip. He was there. He was there. You may remember the race. The horse went off, I think, at 9 to 5. If it had been ridden by a professional male jockey, it would have gone off at 9 to 5 on. She rode it like a professional jockey. And she rode a brilliant race from the front, which is not easy to do, and she sloshed up by about 5 lengths at 9 to 5. So, well done, Megan. She's my. Oh, I just wanted to. Can I just give one tribute? Megan, that was great, and the female jockey in the Norwegian Derby, and I've got to say, my favourite jockey of all jockeys, male, female, whatever else, has to be Nina Carberry. She's got to be the greatest jockey in the world. I've never seen anybody ride and settle horses like she does. I think it's only because she doesn't take it seriously enough to ride professionally, throughout the season, that she's not acknowledged even more so than she is. She's such a brilliant rider, and she's always my go-to jockey, particularly at Cheltenham. When she's riding the race round the what do they call the course? I've forgotten what they call it. The cross-country course on a halfway decent horse. She's unbeatable.
So, Graham, you were for 45 years the person behind a lot of the publicity for William Hill. That's when you worked the first few years and you weren't marking the board, etc. So how did that come to an end? A lot of people were very shocked to the fact that they sort of let you go seemingly so easily.
Well, I'd probably be more shocked that they let me stay so long, so easily. 45 years and 1 month, I wasn't really counting, is, it's however you look at it, it's a long old period of time, and there weren't that many people left that had been there that long when I left. There were some, for sure. There's quite a few people out in the shops have been there a good long time, and kudos to them. The company, for reasons best known to itself, decided that they felt that 45 years, 1 month was time enough. Although, to be fair, I do now do some freelance work for the company, particularly related to the William Hill Sports Book of the Year. So we haven't entirely parted company, although I no longer work directly. I'm no longer employed directly by the company. That was their decision. They're fully entitled to take it. I can't say I was 100% in agreement with that decision. But there you go. Ultimately, it wasn't my choice.
So would you say there is a certain aspect of ageism towards older people, especially in sort of trendy PR marketing departments these days?
PR has always been the sort of industry that thrives on a younger image, or likes to. I would say, and I suppose I would say at this end of my career, there is no substitute for experience, and the principles of PR, as with a lot of other things, are the same whether you are 19 years old and just starting out in that industry, or in your 50s or 60s having been in it for some while. The art of it remains telling a story in such a way that the media will be interested in it. And that's what it boils down to. That's how it is, and I don't think you have to be any particular age to do it. But likewise, I don't think that when you are of a certain age, you're no longer capable of doing it, because it isn't as such a physical occupation. So therefore, we all understand that there aren't going to be Premier League footballers that are in their 60s. That's the physical reason. It's not a mental reason. But at the same time, there are plenty of very good young operators out there doing bookmaker PR, and some of the very best ones still work for William Hill. So that you can't stand in the way of progress, and that ultimately nobody can stay in a job forever. There comes a point at which, if you decide to leave, you can leave the company in the lurch, and then it's your fault, isn't it? You turn around and say, listen, I'm off, I've had enough of this, I can't be bothered to do it any longer. Then you're entitled to do that, and the company has to take the risk that you will. I think William Hill has changed radically in those 45 years. It'd be a strange company if it hadn't. And back in the day, it was new and exciting. Now everybody's doing that type of thing. So you could argue from that perspective, it's tougher to make your way in it. But I suspect people will find new ways of reinventing the industry. I have no serious argument after 45 years in the industry, but that it was an industry that treated me well and a company that treated me well. So it came to a natural end, I suppose, and that's all there is to it.
Right, so you're not involved anymore, but how do you see with the internet? Did you see the future of bookmaking progressing positively?
I see an industry which is under more pressure from different areas than perhaps it has ever been before. It's moved into a lot of different areas which some of the earlier paragons of the industry might not approve if they saw them today, but that in a way is to do with the way in which the world has changed, and technology has changed, and you can't stand still. If you were still a betting shop only taking bets on racing and greyhound racing, you're probably not going to be a bookmaker for very long these days. So it had to move on, and so I played my own part in expanding the range of markets that bookmakers could bet on. But political pressures now impinge on the industry, probably in a much stronger way than they ever did before. Maybe not entirely for bookmaking's doing. Unlike the National Lottery, bookmaking, certainly in my experience, never ever campaigned to allow 16 and 17-year-olds to get involved. So I think it's been an industry which has obviously will always have its critics. All industries make money out of people. Otherwise you wouldn't have industries. But few of them do it as blatantly in a way as bookmakers. Where you walk into a bookmaker with a tenner, put it over the counter, and you walk out with nothing, or you walk out with 100 quid maybe. But more often you'll probably walk out with nothing. But most people that walk in with a tenner understand that they could well walk out with nothing. But it's an industry which, in that respect, is never going to court or have popularity because of its very nature. But that doesn't mean that it's not entitled to respect from people for what it does, the number of people that it employs, the enjoyment it gives to the vast majority of people, and the very, very small number of people who are adversely affected by what the industry does.